Hello, OPL fans. It's week 7, and that means it's Super Week. Joining me on the desk I'm Jake Spawn Tiberian. Joining me on the desk today is going to be Matthew Fish-Stewart, as well as Julian Pastry Time Car. Guys, we have 3 days, all with 2 best of 3s. Got to be pumped to be here for Super Week.
That's right. It is Super Week. It's amazing. So much League of Legends going to happen this week. I'm really excited for the OPL.
Yeah, 6 best of 3s crammed into 1 week. Should be awesome stuff to watch. Excited to see what the team's bringing, if they can really step themselves up towards maybe a little higher in the standings, or if they're on top, to stay on top.
Well, on that vein, let's take a look at those standings, because this will dictate a lot of how the week goes. Still on top of the ladder, it is going to be Legacy. Hi, Julian and Fish. Direwolves is second along with the Chiefs. Hellions will round out our top 4, but Sin Gaming and Trident are right behind them. Infernum and Avant-Garde are rounding out the bottom of the table. And as we mentioned, guys, we have so many games in store for you. We want to share them with you quickly. So tonight we will have 2 best of 3s. As we said, it will be Avant-Garde versus Trident before Direwolves take on Chiefs in what is an awesome rematch, while tomorrow night Direwolves will take on Sin to kick us off at 6 o'clock Australian Daylight Saving Time, before Legacy play against their old sister team in Trident, before Wednesday night the Chiefs will take on Sin Gaming, and Hellions versus Infernum will round us out for the night. Now, guys, I know that was a lot of information, but we got you covered. Head over to the website ost.lolesports.com to check out the standings and schedule. And if you want to join in the conversation, follow at LolOceania on Twitter and use that hashtag IamOPL. So without further ado, let's get into tonight's matchups. To kick us off in Super Week, it is going to be Avant-Garde taking on... Well, here's the Avant-Garde lineup. It's going to be Reindeer in the top laner, Shelby, the new jungler, Triple, their mid laner, Stark, AD Carry, and Destiny. Guys, 2 subs on the Avant-Garde lineup. It's going to be Reindeer in the top laner, Triple in the mid lane. Tell me something about these players.
Yeah, new starting players. It's always interesting to see that Avant have had definitely some ups and downs, and certainly the roster has been changing quite a bit as well. Reindeer, a new untested player, not too sure about him. Triple, though, the organization has been very vocal that they're excited to get him to play. They've been wanting him, honestly, before he was eligible to play. He turned 17 very recently, finally becoming eligible to play in the OPL. The hype's been around him. He's a strong young solo queue player. I'm curious to see how he does in his first match.
Avant-Garde have been swapping left, right, and center. We had Destiny playing the mid lane, support, AD Carry. He's been all over Summoner's Rift so far. And I'm going to quote Rusty in this one, their new top laner, Reindeer. He's meant to be a Fiora 1 trick, apparently. So we're going to have to see if that's going to hinder him or help him in these matches.
I love that. Get the color caster under the bus. Nice and early in the broadcast. It means he can get comfortable. But, of course, they have an opponent on the red side of Summoner's Rift. It is going to be Trident, Pac-Man in the top laner, Impaired, their jungler, Wizard, their new mid laner, Addition, their AD Carry, and Jakey, their support. Trident is a team that has been looking much better since Wizard had joined their lineup. That's where I want to kick off the conversation. What have we made of the new look Trident so far?
They look fantastic. I mean, they've been able to take up their first game, their first win against Sin, and they look fantastic in their match. The addition of Wizard in the mid lane has given them so much more map control, and just that diversity of not always conceding the mid lane early in the game, and that's equated into them performing better and picking up games.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think Wizard has definitely been a strong addition to the team, but it's not just him for me that's really rocking this team. I think the top half of the map has just grown in strength from Trident, and we're finally seeing Impaired and Pac-Man in particular play well together, but Wizard also come into the team, and I think just give them a bit more confidence. It felt like Impaired and Pac-Man weren't playing like themselves. Now Pac-Man's on the likes of Poppy destroying people. Impaired's back on the carry, junglers really taking over games. They took one off Direwolves last week as well. Like, Trident are a team that are on the rise, so it's up to them this week to continue that good form.
And on the opposite side of the rift, I guess we have to take a look at Avant-Garde. They're a team that have had so many changes. You know, the introduction of Triple into the lineup, we've already spoken a little bit about him. But is this going to be enough? They've changed their roster so much. They've pretty much put a bomb under the whole thing. Like, what's going to happen here?
It's basically do or die for Avant. They've been taking games off the Chiefs. They picked up a 2-0 win against the Hellions. They've been taking games off everyone, but just not able to close it out. And with all these swaps coming in, you have to hope with what they have now is going to secure those wins for them.
Well, you know, it worked for Trident, so maybe some new players can help things out there in the mid lane especially. All jokes aside, Triple is this player that's massively hyped. He's, again, very skilled, very young, really talented player. I know that Avant have been wanting to play him for pretty much the longest time. They had him signed before the season even started, knowing he couldn't play until right now. And what a time to come. Super Week. If there's ever going to be a time for Avant to step up, like you mentioned, Fish, they do have to. I think they picked the right time, but Triple, that's so much pressure for a young player.
That's right, and if the team is going to invest so much time signing an underage player, waiting for him to hit the age to play in the OPL and just wait for that, it means they're really, really banking on him to do well in his first match today.
Yeah, it certainly does. But I want to raise a question. Was it really their mid laner and top laner that were the problem? You know, Laz looked very good. We heard a lot of positive things about him. Rekt was this assassin play. He was also trying to change up the gameplay. Is this change a net positive, do you think, for Avant?
I think so, if for nothing else, that Avant get a little bit more stability in their lineup. That's the thing that's really lacking for me. They've been a bit inconsistent. You can kind of tell with how many good games they've taken against top teams like the Chiefs versus the number of total set wins that they have, that Avant, despite looking good in their great moments, definitely falling down when it really matters in the taking the long set. So I think Avant, that it's a reset almost, new mid lane, a new top lane, and we've talked about how the top half of the map is so important to apply early pressure and get things going. For me, if nothing else, Avant have a clean slate to work with, put all the other games behind you, it's super weak, concentrate, and get your much needed wins.
For me, it's a test. Today is the test for them. They looked good with their original True Blue roster where they picked up a win against the Hellions. And ever since they've been swapping back and forth, they picked up games with Destiny in the mid lane, picked up games with Destiny support, and now they just settle down with this roster finally. And today's going to be the test to see if that's what's going to click together for Avant and if it's going to work for them for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and I guess that is the area that I want to hit on as well, is that Destiny was very vocal about going back to the support position. He feels he can shot call from there a lot better, that they didn't really have any other options in AD carry. Now they've added Stark, but they're going up against Addition and Jakey, an area that we thought has maybe been very, very consistent, at least, for Trident's lineup. Is this a matchup you think they can outright win? What have you thought about Stark as a young player on the roster?
I'm a fan of Stark. Obviously, he had a great splash into the league with that pentakill on Kalista, but I feel like he's not really impressed me yet. He's a young player again. Like, a lot of the Avant lineup seems to have the same story. Young solo queue player, lots of talent, but it's kind of it's an awkward time, honestly, to make changes in your season when it's so late. And for me, Destiny's been a great player. He's an excellent support. He was a very good AD carry. Consistency is not enough for me. I think Addition and Jakey, they're carrying that banner for Trident. Let Trident's top half really take over. Either one half of the map has to step up for Avant. So if it's not going to be the new top half who will have pressure on them, then I want to see Stark and Destiny really stick it to someone in a 2v2. And I mean really shut them down.
Stark hasn't really impressed me, though. I feel like he hasn't been performing as well as Raze or somebody like Rady. He's not that carry right now for Avant. On the other hand, Destiny, I think his shot calling has been fantastic. We had a few sounds of the games where you could hear Destiny. He was very vocal in team fights, making sure that the calls were calm and making sure that everybody followed that single call, and it's been working out really well for them, and I want to see that happen again.
Yeah, it certainly has someone that fills a leadership role on Trident, however, and someone that has impressed us after a very slow start to the season is Impaired. Elliot, someone that we, I guess, Carbon called him out. We've been questioning him on the desk. Last week, it finally seemed like he came into his own against the Direwolves. Unfortunately, not able to pick up that best of 3 win, but looking much improved.
Yeah, Spooks had, I think, great insight when he was there on the desk describing it, and where Impaired is an excellent player on Impaired's champions. And that's going to be a growing thing for Impaired as he goes through the league. Again, he was an OCS player. Lots of hype, but he's still learning and definitely going through the growing pains of a young team and a young player. He's really good on the champions that we know he's good for. Likes of Lee Sin, which doesn't play too much now, but the likes of Nidalee, these aggressive champions. I've been less impressed with his Rek'Sai and his Elise and that sort of stuff. We know his potential. I just wanted to see him grow as a player. But honestly, this week, it might just be time to pick the good champions, try and get something like in Italy, try and get aggressive and just take it. Because Impaired needs something here. And whether it's something different or he just sticks to what he knows, Impaired needs to step up.
And I agree. Impaired feels like the glue kind of for Trident. When he doesn't get the champions that he's known for and the champions he wants to play, they just completely fall apart. But when he gets those champions, he can dominate Summoner's Rift. Just look at his Echo. It was fantastic.
Yeah, it certainly was. Has a really, really good Echo. I think that he has an unconventional champion pool, and that's why people maybe sleep on him a little bit. Pac-Man was also quite vocal that he played with Triple Cheese, last split, and he didn't feel like this was going to be the guy that brings it together. What have you thought of Pac-Man? Because I love Pac-Man. He's a very vocal guy. He's actually quite cheeky at times, but he's started to have quite a good split as well.
He's a lovely guy, but even with that aside, he's an excellent player. And I think he's broken the tank-only mold very effectively. He was a Nautilus main. Like, it's amazing that Nautilus is back and now he can play it again, but his Poppy... I had my jaw dropped about how well he was playing the champion. He hasn't gone as far as Fiora yet, as far as carry champions go.
He's had a Gangplank and a Lysandra
But yeah,
game, I think.
I'm definitely believing more in his carries, more in his versatility as a player. And again, same thing for Trident. They were a young team. They used to be Legacy Genesis, this OCS squad, all these talented players. Pac-Man seems like he's growing into his own. We mentioned that's what we want to see from Impaired. But if Pac-Man's already growing, I hope the rest of Trident grows behind him, because right now, Pac-Man looks like the best performing player on Trident.
I want to see him don a robe or pick up a wand or something, because he needs to join Impaired and Wizard, because this duo combo coming in for Trident is to be wrecking everybody. If Pac-Man can join in that combo and help them out as a duo, that top side of the map for Trident is going to be amazing.
All right, guys, we threw a tipping contest during the week. So before I get into the game, I actually want to ask my desk, two lovely play-by-play casters, see if they can put their money where their mouth is. Pastry time, who's going to take this set? What's the scoreline?
Trident 2-0. So I think Avant had done a little too much for building. I think the new players are a good sign for Avant, but I think it's a little too late for them. I was going to give them a game, but I think Trident have been on the rise so much that they can take it convincingly.
Fish?
I don't know. One of them is going to take it 2-1, but I'm just going to have to say Trident to start off. The first game is really going to dictate the flow of this best of 3.
So there you go, Fish once again holding the cards very close to his chest. Doesn't want to put himself out there at all. We want to hear from you guys at home. Use that hashtag IamOPL. But to get us into the games, I think we have 1, 2, 3 casters. Here's Atlas, Froskerin, and Rusty.
Thank you very much, Spawn. And we're very excited to get into this game. Our first match for Super Week. And look, I've got so many friends here on the desk. This is so much fun. It's fantastic. Are you guys feeling similarly here? Do you think that this is going to affect Avant negatively, this massive roster shakeup that they've done?
It always starts negative. It goes without saying that when you swap a roster, no matter what team it is, you've brought a new player into the team. So there's communication issues that need to be brought up and actually worked around effectively. Can Destiny put 2 new players into a team that are solo queue players and actually shot call to victory? That is a big test to say the least, but they have had Triple Cheese with the roster for an extended period of time. I think they are very much prepared for this game.
Yeah, and also Destiny's played the last 3 games in the mid lane as well. This guy's not necessarily a mid player. Played Victor for the first time in like forever in the mid lane. You'd have to think that Triple, being this sort of prodigy mid laner to come out of sort of nowhere here, it's got to be an upgrade. I'm actually feeling like they're looking better. I'm on the hype train. I'm ready.
I feel like their best iteration was like Destiny in the top lane, Destiny in the jungle, Destiny in mid, AD carry, and support.
Just copy the Destinies. Have as many as you possibly can. They all have to play Twisted Fate as well, so then you just double it up all across the Rift. But we are in a Champions Select, ladies and gentlemen, as Kog'Maw is going to be taken away on the side of Avant-Garde, as they're going to be starting on our blue side. And Fiora is going to be banned away from them here on the side of Trident.
So Rentier, I was quoted on the analyst desk by some play-by-play caster, thinking he can throw me under the bus, but absolutely correct. He is a Fiora one trick. Has 90 games on Fiora this season. The closest champion is Gnar with 20.
Jesus.
So a lot of Fiora.
Yeah, that's a heck of a lot of Fiora. Well, Lulu is going to follow in the ban list here, making sure that the Lulu Kog'Maw comp is completely gone. Get rid of it, Avant-Garde says. And I'm really looking at Chelby to hold this team together. Chelby played fantastically in their last series, even in games that they lost. And we'll have to see whether he can carry when he hasn't Impaired to deal with over the other side of the Rift. It's going to be really, really interesting seeing how these junglers interact with one another as we head into this one. But Gangplank is going to be banned away from Wizard, of course. He's had a 9-1-20
Is
run
it priority
so
on Poppy, you think?
Maybe.
I think it has to be top lane, or they could just grab the Alistar or the
Yeah,
Braum
yeah.
for first rotation and support, but typically when you see Gangplank, Kog'Maw, and Lulu banned from blue side, you're trying to narrow your champion pool for a very specific first round pick. I don't know much about Reindeer, like you said, a big Fiora player. I think Poppy would definitely fit up in that carry mentality.
Yeah, if his champion pool is limited, then definitely Poppy would be something to look at. I think Gragas is the other big standout, though, is never mind.
Yeah, it's going to be locked in here for Trident, so no one going to be playing the Fat Man, but Nidalee was left open, and Shelby know exactly what he's capable of on the Nidalee if we cast our minds back to a certain Avant versus...
I mean, it's less even that. It's more the fact that Impaired, when he gets
deny
Nidalee,
that.
Trident win in that particular instance. So he's really struggled, and it is Impaired's champion pool feels limited, goes to Echo Nidalee primarily, and then starts to falter after that, but even has losses on the Echo.
Yeah, it's true. And look, we'll see what he can do as the Nidalee has been locked away. Impaired now, the gauntlet has been thrown. Will he go back to the Echo? Will he play something else? But last time Impaired played Nidalee, he did 7,000 more damage than the next highest on his team.
But
this
this
guy
is also
hard carried.
a question of, by taking away Lulu, Kog'Maw, and Gangplank, that if denying Impaired is actually going to be the key to success, or like the blueprint to victory for them. Like they need to go the denial route versus prioritizing their own power.
You know what's interesting, though, is that they banned Kog'Maw and the Lulu.
Yeah,
They didn't
from the
just
same
ban
side.
One of them, yeah.
Which that definitely takes a hit to Lucian as well if he's going to come out as an AD carry, because typically, I mean, SKT made that composition popular, the Lucian Lulu.
Well, in answer to the Nidalee, they do have the Braum, so the Unbreakable going to be stopping a couple of those spears flying through, and Wizard looks to have got his Corki. Of course, has played Gangplank, Corki, and Lissandra so far, and looked completely uncomfortable on the Lissandra, but his Corki was looking okay, so Trident now able to lock down at least a comfort pick for their mid laner, or that flex into the bottom lane as well.
I think it's definitely just mid lane. There's no way that it's
Yeah,
going to
that's
be
what I
bottom
feel too.
lane. There's no flexibility with Wizard as well. It's one of the big question marks raised about him. Is we've seen him play Gangplank, we've seen him play Corki, and then he played Gangplank then Corki, and now Gangplank's banned, so he's playing Corki. See the trend here. I think he has two
there is
champions.
a certain, and then he played Lissandra, and then it was like, well, I'm in a hole of like 1 billion CS, and Fantix is eclipsing me by all sorts of ridiculous numbers. Fantix did ridiculous things that game, though. To be perfectly frank, it was ludicrous. His gangplank was disgusting.
I feel like the theme of this draft so far is just limitation, not only in the fact that Wizard and Impaired have very limited champion pools. We've already seen Denial as like the priority pick, but the fact that, you know, 280 carries are banned, Kog'Maw and Kalista, you take away Lucian, so you're left with effectively Caitlyn, which no surprise to see Edition hover that one. And then we have Morgana support.
Yeah, that's also
Is
the
it
story
Morgana
of.
support?
Well, you would think so, yeah.
Yes,
How do you know?
against Braum.
Okay, that's a good point, and Destiny's a very good Morgana player. But still, I mean, triple, untested in the mid lane. Morgana could go there. We've seen it before. I don't know. Wouldn't be counting our chickens. All right.
Just remember you with 2 color casters out Atlas.
That's why I'm throwing in weird monkey wrenches, just making sure it's as hard as possible.
I'm super happy to see an Echo player, though. I know I'm a big proponent of Echo coming back into the meta. 6.3, he got the changes to his Q, so it's on a much lower cooldown now. I know you're very well spoken about his build path.
Yeah, absolutely. Iceborne Gauntlet, Spirit Visage with the Runic Echoes. It's just 3 items that it gives you everything that you could possibly want on a champion.
That's not exclusive to Echo as well.
No.
Build that on everyone, and you will make Rusty happy. That is
Yep.
basically the rule. But it
Spirit
is going to be locked in.
Visage is effectively the most cost-efficient defensive item in the game right now. It's pretty ridiculous. So.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, it saves you like 500 500 gold in cost efficiency. Whereas like Randuin's Omen, you maybe get like 65 gold in the tank for the amount of stats that you're building.
This is the best. 2 color casters? Man, this is so much information. But we have had a whole lot of champions locked in here. Of course, Edition did pick up the Caitlyn, but on the other side, the Poppy for Reindeer towards the top side of the map, and Zed has been locked in for triple. So this guy's throwing the gauntlet in game number 1.
Yeah, I mean,
Damn.
it's kind of a gauntlet on multiple levels as well. This is the Rekt played this champion and did really well, my former mid laner. I am now stepping in, Rekt knowing that I was going to step in afterwards. I'm just going to play a champion.
Damn.
Please lock that in.
Where would it go?
I would be so happy in my first OPL game if I had a Blitzcrank.
Jake's kind of a
Whoa.
Janna guy, but Brom's already there.
What if you had an Aatrox, though?
No,
That's not as exciting?
no, I would actually just eject.
Wow. Okay, we'll be back to a duo cast.
people
Thankfully, it'll
need
be
me.
fun. Good God. But Rammus is now considered 2 seconds to go here for Trident as they're trying to round out their lineup.
Every time I see Rammus, I just think of Ryu's face. Not like Ryu of OPL, I mean like Ryu of like H2K.
Yep. Well, it is going to be locked in here. As Impaired's going to be the one playing it by the looks of things. No, it's not. As Pac-Man just holding onto the
It's
Echo for
definitely
a moment.
Pac-Man.
It is definitely Pac-Man. He's a tank main. What the heck am I even talking about?
I don't know, Morgana support?
Yeah, well, look, mate, Morgana support is it? But I didn't say that. I said mid lane because I'm an idiot.
Look, speaking of the team that has Morgana support, Reindeer also has a champion that is not often played by him, at least in his stats in
Yeah.
solo queue, so Poppy. Very easy to master, I will say. You just kind of have to make good decisions, honestly. So kind of test his mentality.
I do have to question the pick of Rammus into a Poppy, though. You're picking Rammus into not only Poppy, but also Morgana. The thing about Poppy is it's like Rammus rolls in, it's pop.
Yeah, you play cricket.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because he's actually just a lawn bowl that's like heading towards you, and those things aren't generally fast. Smacking one of those is generally okay. So we'll see whether he can actually play that game or whether it's going to be Pac-Man actually finding the picks with the taunt, because we've seen Rammus be incredibly powerful irrespective. We'll see whether he can play around the Poppy, whether it's going to be some sort of split push game that's going to be played on one side of the map or not. But I'm excited. These team comps look very interesting, and I'm especially looking forward to watching this mid lane matchup. We know what Wizards Corki is capable of, so it's a good test for triple. We can actually gauge it now. But, ladies and gentlemen, we want to hear from you. Hop over onto Twitter, use that hashtag AVWin if you think Avant are going to be able to take this one, or use the hashtag TryWin if you think Trident can pick up this victory. Of course, Trident coming off their win against Sin, then taking a game off Direwolves. We'll see whether they can progress through against a arguably easier opponent in Avant-Garde here, or whether Avant-Garde's new roster is going to reign supreme.
Nice. I like that. Of course, stage is set. This is a battle of denial picks, and Trident, they still seem to have gotten a strong team comp, all things considered. Lots of questions in this game. Can Reindeer show up? Can Triple kind of do his job instead of the mid laner that was actually playing well
Yeah.
for Avant beforehand? And can Shelby replicate Impaired on Nidalee?
And can Stark get another pentakill like he did in his first game?
Even he said that was gifted.
He did. He said it was luck. But look, maybe he was just being modest.
I do want to take a quick moment to kind of cover these compositions and what they're really good at. I really like that Avant's composition has a lot of versatility in terms of its siege potential. Obviously, anytime you have a Zed in the game, it opens up the option of a 1-3-1 because that is so safe in a split push as well as effective. But then the sieging options between Lucian, a lot of people don't consider Lucian a sieging champion, but with his double tap, he can burn through towers quite effectively, alongside Nidalee with her Primal Surge for the steroid on the attack speed there.
Yeah, and I also really like having Morgana there as well if they are going to go into that siege situation with a split push. Wait, what? What are we giggling about? I'm feeling real self-conscious right now.
It's
I
okay,
love
man.
you.
It's okay. Everything will be okay.
The Morgana split push.
No, okay, if they're going to use the Zed as a split push, I like Morgana in the 4-people makeup just because the Soul Shackles is handy.
Yeah,
You just,
there's a real chance they'll run a 1-3-1 and have the Morgana mid because it's very hard to dive that with a Black Shield.
Anyway, Impaired and Pac-Man are going to get some attention here towards the top side of the map as Destiny's going very aggressive.
Oh,
gonna
get
get
it!
both
Oh, he
of
gets
them.
it!
They
Oh
got-
my god.
They got the other one
Yeah,
too.
the
They got-
entire camp.
And Dark Binding
It's
does
not done.
narrowly
my
go
lawn.
wide.
Get out. That's brilliant. I think he's even going to take a smaller Raptor, maybe all of them, because Lucian's going to solo lane. Yeah, he got one.
That guy's a
A
scumbag.
cheeky popcorn chicken.
Well, early advantages here for Avant. Of course, doesn't show up in the gold at all, but a little bit slower through the jungle now for Trident.
He's going back for another one. Look at him.
Oh, damn right he is. Every time he's got the binding available, he needs... It's 9 gold. This guy is making bank.
He loves that popcorn chicken.
I guess it kind of makes up for having the spell thieves. You know, you can't auto-attack enemies if they're not in the lane.
You just got to get it to the turret, man.
Yeah. I
Oh.
guess.
Impaired and Pac-Man are going to be able to take down the blue buff at the same time as Avant, but they do have one extra camp in their back pocket. And as you can see, Trident actually moving up for the 2v2, but are well and truly behind as they've had to head back to base.
Destiny definitely suspects though, so trying
Well,
to
there's
clear.
4 here. If
Yeah.
they can stop them from getting to the turret, Trident, or if AV can stop them rather, then there is a chance of killing them.
Well, Destiny is going to dodge away from the Winter's Bite as he tries to pull the minion wave over as well. Jake is going to be over here, does lock down the cannon creep. Let's see what AV are going to be able to do as there are 4 versus 2 at the moment. Winter's Bite again going wide. Nice
Wow.
Dark Binding, threads the needle on that one. I don't know whether they're going to be able to actually get the dive off here as the back is going to come down from Reindeer.
They had a window, but Shelby was on the wrong side of the wall.
Gonna
Reindeer
stop
and
him.
Shelby just not on the same page.
That was sloppy from Reindeer as well. They were very much aware that that was warded, but he chose to recall on it.
Well, teleport is going to be used in the end as Pac-Man actually getting aggressed on. Nice stun into the wall from the Poppy. Heroic Charge doing some work early on. We'll see how Pac-Man's going to be able to navigate this lane. Already ahead by 5 CS. Is not a big deal whatsoever. But Wave's pushing back to him, so it actually could be good news for the Ramesses.
You could put it in context if you'd like. 5 CS is about a pink ward. It's a pretty big deal.
All right.
But like any more than between 5 and 20, I guess isn't a big deal. Just got to pick your numbers.
Yeah, I could have picked my numbers better. But Tormented Soil going to go down towards the top side of the map as now things have reversed. Bottom lane is towards the top side. As Addition and Jakey have made it back, and CS is completely fine, despite the fact that they had to walk all the way back to lane, all of those shenanigans. You can see the mid lane 4 CS lead here for Triple.
There's a decent lead for the junglers, though, with farm. At least taking into account that Shelby has recalled and came back with his item already and has the tracker's knife in place. Compared to that of Impaired, who's just gone and, you know, either whist, as you do, but he's still missing that jungle item for extra experience and is behind on farm.
Triple actually just walking at Wizard here, has to use the Valkyrie. Spear is going to go wide. It's a decent juke from the Corki.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, that's very aggressive from Impaired. Just grabs that Aether but Pac-Man, he has to be really careful. Reindeer's just going to town with that hammer.
He has to be careful, likewise, backing up on this tower and be cautious because he knows that Nidalee is also on bottom side of map. Obviously, Shelby's not looking for a potential dive or at least like a drive-by spear, but that's why he's backing so far up his lane.
He's actually picked up a heck of a lot of farm here as well in this round. So despite the fact that he has been harassed out, been able to pick up the important part.
Well-
Just teleports back to lane.
In the lane swap scenario, Avant effectively sacrificed their top laner's farm, but their jungler got quite a bit ahead. So it's now kind of on Shelby to make use of this Nidalee, especially as a denial pick away from Impaired.
Yeah, and honestly, that's a good thing for AV. Keeping in mind it's a brand new top laner, he's playing Poppy anyway, so he's always going to be relevant. Nidalee wants resources and wants to be ahead, so that her damage is noteworthy. And Shelby's also a hyper carry player by nature when he's ahead.
Yeah.
In fact, when he's behind, he just fights you, so it's better that he has the money.
And can actually win said fights.
Yeah, exactly.
Here comes Impaired, though, up into the top lane.
See whether he can get anything done. Of course, there's the W. Might be able to get the stun, but no, Black Shield is there. They get the stun from the Braum passive, though, as the heal comes through. Has to flash out of the way. Does Destiny. His addition finally gets here for some auto attacks.
Yeah, and they do force the recall out of Destiny as well as that flash. The heal from Stark as well, most importantly. And this is a Caitlyn Braum lane that have got complete control and pressure as junglers, you know, just regrouping.
That is so unlike Shelby to actually pounce away from Impaired just there.
Well, his top lane has lost control, so obviously you don't want to attempt to skirmish that. Especially if Braum and Caitlyn just quickly swing down. There's no way that his team's going to beat them to the jungle, especially with Destiny in base.
I have a feeling that Shelby just flat out wouldn't have considered that. Man normally just
Well, I mean,
fights.
yeah, as much as I agree with you, I think it's sadly true that you would actually just see the person and want to fight them.
My kind of jungle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That being said, you are definitely correct. That is probably what you should have. That's what the thought process should have been. But this is Shelby. That's just not what we deal with.
Oh, my pounce went the wrong way.
We screwed it up. Well, Triple doing absolutely fine here in the mid lane. 12 CS in the lead. That's a couple of waves, actually. He's going to be able to pick up this cannon creep as well. Let's see whether Triple can make things happen, of course. Has gone back to base once, grabbed that serrated Dirk and a couple of long swords.
And that's against a ranged opponent with Exhaust in Wizard. Of course, Wizard's got this very unique tendency to, much like his former Trident mid laner, to be behind in farm, regardless of the game,
Yep.
regardless of how he's performing.
Whoa! That being said, will get the auto attack. No, he doesn't, but Wizard does end up picking up first blood. The Ignite's down. Deathmark not going to be enough as he flashes out of the way of the spear. Nice play from Trident's mid laner, just as we were talking
Yeah,
about.
I was going to say very well timed, because regardless of CS advantages, he finds ways to get kills and bring himself back in this game, almost on cue. He decides that he's just going to destroy his health bar. Looks like Triple actually tanked the turret there a bit, though, and didn't get Shelby's heal, in fact, altered, which could have been a major difference there.
And I love the priority on the flash to dodge the spear. If that spear had connected, it surely would have been a trade
Yeah,
one for
absolutely.
one. And with the assist gold going over to Nidalee, Avant would have been in good hands.
One of those Caitlyn's, eh?
Yep. I'm just going to shoot you. Sorry.
Isn't that the worst?
Yeah.
That's why I play Caitlyn.
Well, Spear is going to land on a Jake, but no. Breakable is going to be there. Still manages to get the boost, but Shelby does have to be very careful. Lands on a trap. The flash forward actually is there's the exhaust.
Jake.
Takes a lot of damage, but Jake right up amongst it as Shelby is able to pick up the
Oh,
kill.
the package.
Yep, package delivered, but nice flash from Stark. Rocket is going to go
What?
wide as Wizard's looking for it, finds it eventually, and even gets himself some extra damage onto Destiny at the same time.
That was outrageously effective from Wizard. I'm just going to say he happened upon the timing of that fight. Shelby gets super aggressive.
Oh, that is.
Oh my
That's
god,
just rude, Wizard.
Wizard?
Yeah, he was backing on top of a pink ward.
Yeah, he probably didn't notice.
Well,
Either way, he was stopped by Destiny, who then showed him that there was a pink ward there
Yeah.
and said, "Kill away, sir,"
there is some justice in this league.
but wasn't letting him recall so that they could get a lot more farm onto Triple and potentially control of this map. At least, whilst he doesn't have summoners or his ult available to him, Corki is in complete control.
Well, still decent CS for Triple, so we'll see whether he can actually affect the rest of the map. Exactly right, this Corki.
It's now more of a
Still looking
question
good.
about where Wizard is going to impact the map. Now in the bot lane, he doesn't have much kill pressure unless they also bring the jungler.
Wow.
And speaking of bot lane,
Yeah, actually doesn't get the stun. Spear is going to fly through. Pac-Man does lose his flash, though.
That was triggering.
It was
So
interesting.
that was.
but Wizard's kill pressure and Trident's kill pressure is in the top lane. We already saw the power of Braum with that concussive blows.
Yeah.
So expect them to continue to apply pressure there, which means that Shelby should really just be waiting in the wings.
Impaired is actually just hanging around, and Destiny knows this drill quite effectively. That being said, Impaired now with a few items is able to at least
Wow.
secure that. Nice teleport to come through into the top side of the map as Stark does have to run. Destiny as well, not going to get stunned by the parallel convergence. As Trident
he's
were
bound.
trying to collapse. In goes Triple. We'll see whether he can get anything done. Decides not to pull the trigger, but here comes the teleport from AV.
Oh, good ult.
Soul Shackles is massive from Destiny, but gets taken down so incredibly low. Locks down the kill onto Jake. Are they going to be able to get any more? Nope. Just going to clear out some minions, but nicely played from Avant.
And you can tell that Destiny is the shot caller for this AV side. He was the one that pulled the trigger. And good to be on Morgana as well if you want to think about team compositions for AV. Because he's the one that made that turn all the way back around. Addition is up to something, Koi. Oh no, he lost vision.
Yeah, looking for Destiny, but can't find it. Shelby's able to lock down the kill.
That was so unfortunate.
I was just waiting for
What
the
a
auto attack, and it
disaster.
never happened.
That's just so unlucky.
Well, I mean, is it luck, or is it just a Morgana walking into
Well,
a
I don't,
brush?
like, yeah. Morgana definitely walked into the brush, but that was expected, which is why he netted.
Oh, wow. That was the bit. I missed it. Oh, dear. Well, Reindeer is going to get taunted here towards the bottom side of the map. Pac-Man actually getting some damage back with those tremors out.
But this is the idea. We've already seen so much action in the top lane, and again, Avant clearly know that they understand that that's Trident's win condition, that that's where they have the kill pressure, and so they set the trap perfectly and are able to pick up these counter kills, amassing quite a passive gold lead right now.
Yeah, 1,200 gold now in the lead for Avant-Garde. No towers taken, no dragons either. Trident now just camping on top of their pink ward. Fantastic black shield there from Destiny as seemed like he was waiting for that ultimate.
Here comes Shelby.
Yeah, Kitty Cat is going to make her way towards the top side of the map. They just lock down this pink ward and add the pressure. Massive wards out from Trident.
But a lot of wards actually already in place from AV. You can see the vision that they have near this Herald that they're currently doing. Or at least looking at doing, rather.
It's like 20 pink wards in that area.
Yeah.
By 20, I mean 2. It's a lot.
Just add
Yeah.
0 on the end, right?
That's the kind of exaggeration that I can get behind. But once again, Reindeer and Pac-Man just fighting one another here towards the bottom side of the map. Pac-Man that Tremors just seems to be off cooldown at all times.
I love how defensively they're placing their vision. If you look at all 3 of their pink wards, they have one right on front of the red buff, one on top of their own blue, and then one kind of in their own river brush. And again, this idea that they understand that they're on counter play and reactive play rather than being proactive in the enemy jungle.
Yeah. And you can put defensive pink wards and offensive green wards as well. Sight stones or anything of the like. So a little bit more coy with their vision, gives them more prolonged areas that they can see the map opposed to deep controlled, because they're not fighting for dragons or Rift Heralds. They just want the vision to stay there. It becomes much more cost efficient if you can keep the pink wards there and know that you're not fighting for objectives anyway. The longer they stay, the better they are.
Oh, we can see they've been there for quite some time. This Triple is now going to head back to base. Pick himself up, possibly that Ghost Blade. There it is in the inventory already, and we'll see whether we can get anything done now with that first item spike.
Okay,
Impaired,
yeah.
yeah, paying a visit towards the bottom side of the
Reindeer
map.
will fight it.
Yeah, he is looking for it one more time. Impaired just hanging out with the buckler.
No. He scried the Tribush. Reindeer doesn't have any vision available to him. There's a chance that when this wave comes, if he gets too close and tries to cue the wave to clear it, then he will run into some issues.
Oh.
There it is.
Yeah, there's the parallel convergence as well as Reindeer does have to get out of the way. Impaired, not going to make his way in as there's the ultimate. Pac-Man just punted out of the way.
It's a home run away. Of course, not going to be able to find anything, but the pressure has continued in this top lane. Avant, they've definitely recognized what to do. As you mentioned earlier, Frostgrown. They're going to pick on top.
Yeah, Destiny has been landing the bindings. Man, his Morgana is still just as good as it used to be.
It's also really old, like, throwback team composition of Morgana Nidalee, because one connects, the other should usually connect anyway. If
Yeah, good
Nidalee
point.
goes for, like, a Rylai's as an example, you can slow them down that the rest of the team's skill shots connect. Both long-range spells.
Well, they are playing like buddies, just like they used to. Impaired is going to pay a visit, but can't actually get over the top. Harold does fall down, and Shelby picks that one up. So see what AV are going to be able to accomplish is continuing to put pressure towards the top side of the map. Addition does have some traps down, but look at this. All the way under his turret.
It's not going to protect him from a flank,
No,
but
Shelby's-
Wizard and Impaired might.
Jakey is
That's
in a
aggressive.
whole lot of
Oh.
trouble. Massive ultimate comes out, but Stark picks up the kill with the culling. Shelby now in enemy territory. The flash forward from Wizard, and he keeps picking up these kills for Trident. See whether he can transition that gold as Pac-Man's going to get caught by the binding. Trident just always get these kills in response. A nice 1-for-1 despite that on the side of Avant. We'll see whether they can grab a turret.
But that's actually massive if they manage to crack that mid lane while the Corki with blue buff is up top side, simply because cracking that mid-tier tower is possibly the hardest thing to do in the meta currently.
Corki's
Especially
a wave
against
clear
the
mid
Corki,
laner, yeah. It makes it a little bit harder to do. In saying that, it is a 3-0 Trinity Force Corki and still has control of the lane whenever he is there. The turret didn't just quite fall yet, but it is not long for this world.
It pretty much means an untimely back for Trident. If they're not
Yeah.
diligent about it, they'll lose that tower with a stiff breeze.
Well, Triple able to at least clear things out here, but AV, they have got the top outer turret, so some global gold here now in the hands of our blue side team. 3,000 in the lead after that one falls down. We'll see whether it does get answered, but you saw Reigns here before getting some damage down to the bottom outer turret and mid outer very, very low at the hands of Triple. So AV seems like they have structural control, at least for the moment.
My question is about how AV will rotate their champions now. You do see that Triple is timing his backs with his bot lane, rotating between the lanes. I actually am surprised. I figured that Morgana and Lucian would actually rotate into the mid lane, but there's no real purpose if they want to try to accumulate this global gold lead. They want to push down towers as quickly as possible, as opposed to freezing in a farm lane against a Corki, especially when you're trying to compete against the timing windows of Caitlyn. She's going to hyperscale, whereas Lucian won't.
Yeah, they've also broken the top lane turret in the organic 2v2, so if they can maintain that strength,
Would you call it a 2v2?
it was
There are a lot of people there, but we do have a 3v3 skirmish here towards the bottom side. Nice dark binding.
They just lost
Jake
him.
gets caught up.
Nope, they're quickly trying to save mid-tier.
Yeah, this is the problem. Wizard has to stay or he'll lose the turret from this point on. And as you mentioned earlier, if the mid lane turret falls, pressure grows on the map. You can be much more offensive because no one can sit in the short lane.
And an open map against a Morgana and Zed, and Nidalee especially, is just devastating.
Well, it's all going to be about execution once AV have cracked this open. And look, this is one of the questions that was raised as well. I mean, this AV squad with the new roster, now that Destiny has settled towards the support position and Triple is finally on the roster, plus with Reindeer now added, see whether they can make things work in a strategic sense. As Stark with the Dark Binding, it's going to lay down the culling, but Impaired, as you mentioned, Rusty, waiting in the wings, ready to get the work done.
Kind of unrealistic from Impaired there, thinking that he was going to be able to get a kill at all. It was honestly just pressure he was trying to achieve, making Destiny and Stark at least respect their bottom lane in response. Because at the moment, it's unrelenting, and they are poking them out. The real issue here is that every single time Destiny has thrown a Dark Binding, Caitlyn's had to juke it. Like, outright has to actually dodge it or will take a lot of help.
Yeah.
Which means Destiny has complete control.
Speaking of complete control, mid outer turret just falls down. Triple grabs the local gold there as well. So now the Zed, despite the fact that he did fall behind very early on by losing that kill, still keeping up in farm, and the global gold definitely at his advantage. As Spear is going to find Wizard there. Shelby bounces the wrong direction after the Valkyrie. That was very interesting. As Impaired now caught by the Soul Shackles, will get stunned eventually, uses the ultimate, but there's the death mark, and that's going to be the first one for Triple. Ace in the hole comes down, but Stark is going to survive it, and AV will see whether they can use the man advantage to pick up this dragon as a response.
Hyper-aggressive from Chelby and Wizard alike. The Valkyrie was actually really smart, but AV, they're just here in numbers. Their bottom lane again. That control that they've got is now translating to the middle lane. And imagine that the turret falls down and they can find picks just like that.
Yeah. It feels like we're seeing what this team comp is capable of, and you mentioned that it might be an old one. Definitely still a good one in the hands of AV.
Well, the fact that it was a team comp says it all.
Yeah, damn right. Jake, he's going to snag himself a Dark Binding, but doesn't take too much damage for that Unbreakable.
They're being very respectful of the fact that they didn't have knowledge where Impaired or Addition were. I actually think that if they had vision on those two, they actually could have just three-manned into that and possibly taken it down very quickly.
Ooh, the Dusk Blade of Drakthar.
Oh god, he's done it.
Yep. Thanks, Triple.
I was hoping no one would ever buy this item.
It does force QSS second even earlier out of
He
Corki.
already had it though. Well, he had it before. He had it at the BF sword because he was far enough ahead and he just does not want to deal with Zed. But here we are. The double Zed ultimate,
The Nightfall.
essentially, yeah. The Death Nightfall mark.
He has to proc it with auto attacks.
In goes Jiggly. You can see Unbreakable is going to tank up the full culling as they just brute force this turret.
And that's what I was talking about when Stark and Nidalee were collected into that lane. They actually could have done the exact same thing. So it's a nice response from Trident to see them understand that if we know where everyone is, we can just pull the jungler in and force one of these down. They see me rolling.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yep.
Hey, actually,
Nailed it.
that is one thing to talk about, though, is the fact that if anyone can stop a Zed split push, it's probably Rammus. Like, he likes armor, right?
I mean, he won't die.
Yeah, that's sort of what I meant.
Yes.
But is that about it? Like, can he actually not stop him from split pushing?
Well, I
him?
mean, if you were Rammus in this case, after your Iceborne Gauntlet, I'd probably go the ZZ Rock Portal
Oh, yeah.
and then deal with the Zed as little as possible. Like, yeah, he won't be able to kill you, but if you're not in the lane to take damage in the first place, he definitely can't kill you.
It's also so much more important for Trident's composition that Rammus and Pac-Man are available for their team fights rather than Triple, if that makes sense.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they need the tanker.
Whereas Triple's sort of free to do what the heck he wants.
Well, I mean, the rest of this game sums that up perfectly. He actually hasn't left mid.
Especially against how far ahead Shelby is right now, having the completed Roa, has the Runic Echoes. That's a massive CS advantage from the jungle. If you don't have your tanky member in front of you, and if Braum isn't catching those spears, that's pretty much going to half health 3 of those members on Trident's lineup. So if I'm Zed, I'm gladly trading for Pac-Man up in the top lane just so it's fish in a barrel for my Nidalee.
Well, I just really like the fact that, you know, it's his first game here in the OPL, and they've said, it's okay, Triple. You just take turrets, split push when you can. Make it pretty easy for the guy.
Well, he
You
needs
just
some
do you, man.
assistance.
You do you, yeah. No worries. But in bed, he's looking for something here in the mid lane as Trident have all grouped up. Good. Nice proactive play out of the squad as the spear is going to go wide, and they easily grab the turret.
It's just slow from AV all around the board. Didn't get there in time to help their mid laner, who was quite obviously zoning himself under the turret, so knew that they were nearby. Which just means that AV honestly just could not be there.
Oh, Shelby.
And honestly, the Duskblade it's got a weird niche to it where, like, think about that he's split pushing against a Rammus now. Does 25% of your missing health. God forbid he manages to get it off when Rammus is missing health.
That's true.
It'll still do damage to him.
Does it do magic damage?
It has
as well?
armor pen, as does the Ghost Blade, so without going for a Last Whisper, I mean, realistically, it's not designed for the Rammus. It is entirely designed for Addition, but there's something else to it.
And also, you know, if he just goes in and tries to kill Addition and doesn't use the death mark, he might be able to actually get out of QSS without, you know, even using his ult.
We do have the new Static Shiv.
Yeah, true. Lots of wave clear.
The one thing Caitlyn's lacking. That was sarcasm.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought Piltover Peacemaker was pretty good at that.
Issue with Caitlyn, of course, is that she's actually in a power trough right now. She doesn't have natural steroids like some of the other AD carries. Tristana really took over Caitlyn's place when Tristana was really big, and the reason why we didn't see Caitlyn rise up is because her mid game is very punished, because she's relying entirely on kind of like 4 items.
It's funny, Caitlyn's mid-game, if you were fighting exclusively from a brush, would be
Is
as good as the
excellent.
rest. Yeah, it's just that she's not fighting from a bush most of the time. It's for turrets in the middle lane. So not as strong as something like Illusion, who has the double auto attack and can spell weave.
Well, at the moment, Addition towards the top side of the map as Triple is split pushing up there. Probably not the matchup that Trident really want.
Can you tell because Addition's like way
Yep, no.
back?
See ya. Dark Binding is going to go wide though as Jake is just trying to assist his Caitlyn, who's running as far away from this turret as humanly possible.
It's just bad news bears when you're farming underneath your tower with your Q.
Yeah,
Caitlyn mid-game.
look at it in action.
Just
ladies
10
and
more minutes,
gentlemen.
guys, and I'm a god.
This is one of those games, though. He's against the Zed, so he needs a QSS. But
Just
it's-
15 more minutes, guys, and I'm a god.
Exactly. And then you're like, hang on. I have to QSS exclusively the Z ult. Do I want like Asterix for all of this burst as well so I can QSS Morg? You're like, hang on, 20 minutes and I'll be a god. And it just keeps going. Like, we just need 70 minutes.
Hey, but then he'll be a god.
Absolutely, but so will everyone else on the enemy team.
Oh, well, there's the ultimate, actually, as Triple takes a fair bit of damage. Impaired flashes over. He's going to try and find the Z. The death mark goes down. Triple seeing whether he can outplay this one. Not sure whether he can. Oh, my goodness, the ult goes down and it blocks it, as Impaired's able to at least not die, but Triple survives.
This is interesting. Impaired was still looking for it. He wanted to take the camp, get some health back, but Triple does super well to get out with his life. Of course, we did see some more action in the bottom lane, as I guess we can call it action. It's really just an armadillo being smashed by everybody.
My favorite part was the culling.
Yeah, the fact that the culling basically hit nothing. The spear missed as well, but unfortunately, 3 versus 1 wasn't very fair for the old Pac-Man.
I feel like it's one of those moments where Stark's like just shooting it off on the corner of the screen, like, Mom, I'm on TV!
Well, Trident are going to be able to grab themselves a dragon. That is going to be there first, evening things up here with AV as Impaired utilizing that parallel convergence just to cut off the follow from AV.
Yeah, doubles up as a massive slow as well.
You know what I'm finding really interesting about Caitlyn? Kind of back into like the mid-control meta where you have mages who are just going to wave clear as Baron is actually being started up by AV.
Fair enough.
They just did not care. They just flat out started.
Well, they know that Trident's recalling. Like, they're absolutely not going to be close enough, and they take this down so quick with the Z.
It's ridiculous. Pac-Man might be able to make his way in, but nope, he just turns around. This ball is going home.
Damn.
Well, that was decisive, man. You're talking about Destiny's shot calling, whether he'd be better from the support position. Looking pretty good right now because that was like everyone right there. We're doing Baron right now. That's going to be our answer. Nice play from AV.
Yeah, and it kind of comes back to the initial question we had. Less so even about his shot calling, but more so how will he be able to shot call with 2 new players on the team?
Yeah.
Triple and Reindeer. Well, it seems to be working so far.
Whatever he's doing, keep doing it.
He's like the high of OPL.
Well, that's a big statement, though.
Wait, he hasn't played jungle.
This is the first game.
He's role swapped. His team looks good.
He played mid AD in support instead of mid jungle in support.
So because he hasn't played a Mumu in the mid lane?
That's basically it.
Okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, you'd be entirely correct. I think they're pretty much the same player.
I got you, Destiny. You're the high of the Oceanic region.
So
I'm not
far,
going to argue it.
he's making it look good. He's making it look good. 7,000 gold is now the lead for AV, as we'll see whether they can actually balloon that one, considering the fact that they do have this Baron buff, helping them push things out. The 1-3-1 now in effect.
Oh, here we go.
For Vanguard.
Pop quiz time, Atlas.
Oh, yeah?
What is the eye that Destiny has?
The eye? That is the eye of the Watcher.
And why is it important?
Because that's its name.
No. Why is the item important?
Because it frees up inventory space.
Okay, so the beauty about it is that you get 4 wards. And you're like, why would I need 4 wards? I can only place 3 at a time. It's because you can trade that ward for a sweeper, which is incredibly proficient while taking something away from the enemy, but also making sure that you can have the maximum amount of wards on the map at the same time. It's also incredibly cost efficient now that they've added CDR to it. CDR per stat, I believe, is like 15 gold, so it's one of the most cost efficient stats in the game.
And it does free up a slot.
Yeah, well, you know, I knew that one, but I did definitely learn a whole lot about warding.
It's really cool. So anytime a team is setting up for sieging an objective or taking a Baron, you always have to check the blue trinkets and then the sweepers, and they can trade that item's ward for at least 1 sweeper if the team's uncoordinated, possibly 2, then burn the blue trinkets, then take the objective for free.
Oh, in these situations, things will be easier, but Shelby has to now run away from Wizard, who's trying to now
in
turn it
trouble.
around. Flashes out of the way of the Phos Bomb, and I actually believe he needed to do that. Wizard now over to the side. Dark Binding isn't going to find the Corki, but Wizard has been playing fantastically this game. We'll see whether he can actually complete this as the spear does connect. The Earthrider needs to make sure that he stays out of the way of these ones, and so much non-committal CC from Avant-Garde.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
committal,
Ben's
though.
just going in right now.
What?
Really wants to try and get something done. Does have the
He's
ultimate,
dead.
but he just dies. Okay. See you later, Impaired. That was very exciting, but probably not the best
Oh my
of
God.
moves. Massive crits coming out of this Caitlyn
Oh,
right now.
he's in.
There's the flash forward. Wizard in a bunch of trouble. Uses the QSS after the stun. They just need to kill that turret. His addition does take down Reindeer. AV. What is going on? That turret's
Kill
on
the
one
turret.
auto attack.
Hit it!
Star.
Oh, my God. What
Someone.
That just
It
backfired.
has 18 health.
That is so unfair.
That was Impaired throwing himself at the enemy, and Reindeer just throwing himself back. I wonder what they were telling each
Okay,
other.
so to be fair, Reindeer couldn't even get his ultimate off because of the Rammus taunt, and the
yes.
rest of AV didn't really have themselves in a position to back him up. Namely, Triple decided that he was going to use his Z Shadow on top of a Caitlyn trap and lose about 1,500 health near immediately from one of the headshots.
Not good.
Doesn't help your team in that situation. So they weren't able to hit the turret as much as they would have liked. Still a slight error. I
18
guess.
health.
Well, it's stalled out the Baron here as well, as AV don't have that one anymore. Nice defense being put up here by Trident, and they're playing so patient.
I mean, I still don't like the Duskblade. And I'm going to bring this back because everyone's like, you're a Z.
I don't care about the stats.
So I'm
man.
going to get a QSS anyway.
Yeah.
And Duskblade is QSSable. So you get a 2-for-1 special by buying a single item.
It's buy one, get one free.
Yeah, and you know, what I was saying as well was the fact that, you know, Duskblade, it can be QSSable, so maybe you could get, you know, that QSS'd and then use your ult afterwards, but generally you use your ultimate in order to auto-attack someone.
auto E, Q, like,
Yeah.
sorry, yeah, in there. Somewhere. You just do all of it. There is an auto.
You have to
I'm not
do
gonna
all
go
of your
over it
buttons.
again.
But Triple is able to lock down that turret. There it is. They nailed what they probably should have done in the last team fight. That being said, it is going to secure almost a 10,000 gold lead for Avant-Garde.
And this is what I was talking about at the beginning of the game, just the versatility and siege options that Avant have, whereas you see that Trident's composition pretty much has to be grouped to work because they're against a poke like Nidalee. If one of those spears connects with Corki, Echo, or Caitlyn, it's doing massive amounts of damage. So they need Pac-Man and Jakey to be a frontline for them and to constantly have their line of scrimmage in formation.
Well, at the moment, Reindeer is saying, well, I'm just going to fight you, Pac-Man, at all stages of this game. He almost has a Banner of
Here we
Command
go.
completed, but there are the Tremors. Reindeer, do not misjudge this Armadillo, as AV are going to use that little bit of aggression in order to take this dragon. 2-1 now, giving them a little bit more of an ability to take down these turrets, and we'll see whether they can utilize it.
But it doesn't matter. Avant could actually just win this game if they simply choose not to fight Trident. Obviously, if they lay down their poke and they land a few spears, go all in. You have the gold lead by 10k at this point. But if they wanted to, they could just continue to run them around the map.
Well, it looks like that's what Triple's plan is he's just waiting towards the bottom side. Pac-Man going to be answering him for now. So there is a last Whisper completed on Triple.
And a Banner of Commanded Minion, though, from Pac-Man. So a little bit harder now for Triple to deal with these waves. I would namely say that you should put it in the wave that Triple is not in, so that Reindeer has a hard time to deal with it.
And as far as answering split push with items like the Banner of Command, like the Zizarot portal, which one do you like more? Do you like the little
Well,
rhinos,
it's
or
relative
do you
to
like
who you're
the
against, right? So everyone struggles with the ZZ Rot portal, just plain and simple. They can, AD carries or AD damage dealers can, oh my god, Shelby, can kill both quite effectively.
Hey, it scuttles.
Look, yes. He still missed both, that's why I said, oh my god. Initial reactions, okay?
Yep.
Banner of Command is good against people that can't kill it, because it builds up a big minion. It also is very good against people that aren't 1-3-1ing, they're 4-1. Because you put it in the off lane where nobody is, and it will naturally push. Whereas the Rot Portal is in a lane where someone is actively pushing and denying them from doing it.
Well, Triple right now just wanting to take down this turret. Actually wants to get a few auto attacks on as Pac-Man is going to teleport in, but Trident, they've got a fight on their hands. Parallel Convergence going to land on multiple people, but Impaired not going to set that one off for the stun.
Triple's out of position.
He's so out of position.
Yeah, severely. The flash goes down, but Addition in so much
Wow.
trouble gets deleted. The 1-for-1 trade comes in as AV have now started up the fight. Parallel Convergence doing some work now as Destiny. The Soul Shackles are down. Reindeer has to flash out of the way. Stark doing so much damage, though, on the backline. Is going to secure the Echo. Dark Binding not going to find anyone. Nice little dodge there from Pac-Man as Trident are going to be able to limp away, but it's a 2-for-1.
And this is Triple, the man that's replacing Rekt, who has played Zed time and again. And even though he was out of position, he shows up massive in that fight and basically gives them a 4v4.
Today I learned you're never out of position with a 15k lead. Excuse me, 10k.
Oh, damn right. But AV have started off the Baron here. Destiny in a bunch of trouble. He's going to get taken down. Baron is going to go to Shelby, though, as he's standing in the back of the pit. Reindeer,
Pac-Man.
massive in the back line as Jake is going to fall down as well. Stark just with so much consistent damage, and the peel from the Poppy just doing a bunch of work.
They
Nicely done.
still get a trade, though, AV and Trident. The Baron is still in the hands of 2 members of AV, so that's the big deal. They've got a lot of pressure that they can attain from this, but they do need to utilize said Baron to get even further ahead, or just break the base, most importantly. Not an easy thing to do against Pac-Man, who got to kill himself in the Baron pit.
And speaking of the damage from Stark, take a look at that CS discrepancy between your two 80 carries.
120. That is insane. 3 items to almost 6.
Yeah, he lost laning phase and he hasn't gotten farm outside of it. This entire game 1 is Wizard trying his absolute hardest to carry his team across the line.
It looks like a Sin game. I know that sounds mean, but this looks like Rymeister in the mid lane, you know? That sort of level of hard carry
Why
on
does
the
it
side of
sound
Trident.
mean?
Well, you know, because...
I just complimented the mid laner of Sin.
Yeah, but I wasn't very nice to the rest of the team, you know?
That's okay. And you are right. It does feel a lot like a Sin game in just the fact that Sin is basically Rymeister and team. And not to take away from the rest of the team, that's just how they play.
It's also how good Rymeister is, and Wizard is playing fantastically this game.
But yeah, this particular game is less Sin and friends in the way that they happened upon it.
Yeah.
And right now, it's Wizard desperately trying to defend and being the only real source of damage out of his team, because Caitlyn is a non-factor till probably 40+ minutes. He has to try and bridge that gap, because Corki starts to drop off, honestly, compared.
That's some legitimate damage coming out from Triple right now onto the very tanky Rammus. Jake going to get caught by the Dark Binding, but Unbreakable is going to save him from a lot of the damage. But AV, they do get the vision down. Trident do have to be careful. Living Shadow is in here, but Triple not going to find anyone with the Shurikens. And Reindeer just going to be split pushing here towards the bottom side. Addition just can't do anything relevant to him. Impaired caught underneath this turret. Spear lands here as well. Parallel Convergence just for the defense on the side of Trident, and they're now just trying to hold onto their structures. Another spear. Look at the poke damage. The culling comes through. The ultimate has to be used. And that is a very big deal. They've lost the ability to engage with this Echo, and that means that they're going to give up this inner turret.
This is a vision-based team composition here from AV. The Morgana binding sets everybody else up. And even grouping with the Z is proving effective. Jake's low.
Whoa, Shelby spears.
The counter to poke has always been engage, and the issue again is what we're talking about is Pac-Man is so essential to their composition if they want to execute it, because otherwise they're just going to continuously eat spears. She's just going to keep throwing them out until one of them connects. So they needed to pull the trigger when everyone was healthy and in position. About 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Because it's now a 13,000 gold lead.
I think the problem is they also don't have a split push option besides Pac-Man. If they were to send Corki or Caitlyn bottom, they get Zedded. Just immediately die. And so they have to send Pac-Man to 2 lanes at once. He's getting a lot of farm, but he's staying in these side lanes, so he's not actually utilizing that money towards anything.
In addition, actually went and bought a BF sword instead of a Last Whisper that actually helped him out a little bit more. Not entirely sure. Would have liked it myself at this stage of the game.
He needs life steal.
If they fight for this and die, that's game.
Dragon is going to go down here to Avant. A little bit of extra movement speed for number 3 and some insurance moving towards that late game that we have well and truly hit here at 40 minutes in. So you're now wandering here towards the bottom side. Pac-Man up in the top lane, has teleport available. So now in opposite lanes of these top laners as they try and push things out, but no broken base just yet on the side of Trident. If they win a team fight, they can certainly still win the game. And it's getting to the point where these death timers are going to be so long that it will take just one fight.
Big thing is that the clock really no longer determines late game. It's more so determined by the itemization. And I feel like when pretty much everyone has their core items, or at least your primary carries have their core items. For 80 carries, that's typically a three item spike. That's pretty much when late game starts. Whereas mid game is going to start when you get the initial power spike, like the Trinity Force.
So now that Stark has 6 items, we can say that we've hit late game.
Yeah, you're pretty much like super late game. In a normal meta, that's about, 55 minutes in the game.
That is disgusting.
Which is funny, because Addition on the flip side, I wouldn't even say he's hit late game.
Yeah, he's maybe about like,
He's mid-late.
he's mid game.
He's doing
This guy's at
really
like 17 minutes in.
I was going to say he's doing really well for 17 minutes. Unfortunately, it's 40 minutes into the game. He's able to pick up some
Wow.
farm. Triple
Oh.
actually going aggressive.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, Deathmark comes down. Spear isn't going to find the mark. As
Really?
he does have to try and head back. Uses the QSS to get out of the taunt. But they're just buying time for Reindeer, who is able to break this base, then heroically charges towards this inhibitor. Wizard actually wants
He's
to try
gonna-
and pick this
That's
one up.
brave.
He's going for it. Lots of damage comes out as he just uses the QSS, I think, for style points. I'm not entirely sure what. Probably slowed. Yep, bit of movement speed there as well, as Winter's Bite not going to find anyone, but it's a good Dark Binding. In addition, takes half of his health bar from one spear.
And this is the rinse and repeat style that AV have got in place. If you have vision of any kind, Reindeer able to split push because Pac-Man needs to group. Eventually things will fall. And eventually AV will break the base. And right now they're working bottom.
Oh, Stark Death. Black Shield is there. Parallel Convergence comes down but doesn't get any of the stuns as Impaired. Already down to half health. Massive ultimate
That
now
was
from
huge.
Reindeer as Destiny flashes forward. Almost gets Impaired. I mean, Addition, but Impaired is going to lock it down for him. Massive ultimate there out of the Echo as Reindeer now just trying to soak damage. And Stark figures that he just wants to take it into his own hands. Parallel Convergence one more time, but he just slinks his way out. This solution doing a whole lot of work, but AV, they managed to find Pac-Man, but that is about it, and they got some low health bars for themselves.
And they have a massive gold advantage here. So again, look at how well Trident's composition works when all 5 members are there versus the split push that's been pretty much happening the entire game.
Yeah, that was close to best case scenario though for Trident. You have to consider Zed's still got the ultimate available, as does Destiny on this Morgana. So they didn't get everything off here, AV. They also massively misplayed when going for that objective. It was quite simple, and even, honestly, Reindeer hit a great ult, but that ult was not going to save them when AV's running towards the people that you've ulted away, because they'll immediately be back next to you.
Yeah, it's a very good point. But Addition now has a Vamp Scepter, moving towards that late game build. But that's Fury Enchantment. That is Stark completely finished. I mean, there's no point in farming anymore on the side of this solution, just to increase numbers maybe. I don't know why he picked up the Raptor Camp, for instance. I think that's almost pointless. As now Pac-Man is going to find Reindeer. Uses the W, but the Baron has been started. Trident do have a ward in the back of the pit. They know exactly what's going on, but they have to be careful. The split push is on for this 6-item Poppy.
It's just on for both of them. That's the problem. As eventually, when there is the Banner of Command available on a cannon, if Pac-Man was smart, place it in the top lane, potentially look for a turret, or place it bottom lane, but Reindeer's just going to clear it, so he'd have to stay and protect that minion. And that runs a very big risk, because he needs to be there at the start of these team fights.
AV are taking some time, looking to just start off this Baron one more time. They just understand that they can dictate the dance around this pit. It's just Triple and Stark in here at the moment, as they have a lot of damage, but not a lot of tankability. Is now Impaired. Parallel Convergence is down. Throws it sort of in a weird direction.
They've blown teleport though. Pac-Man's here, and this means that Reindeer has complete control of the bottom lane. That one teleport is a big, potentially game-changing mistake. And Trident, they're desperate.
Yeah, well, they've just said, well, now without the teleport, let's just push down the mid lane as Pac-Man able to tank a turret for days, and a culling there as Jake is here with the Unbreakable. Lots of damage on this turret as they break it immediately. Addition does have decent amount of damage to structures, most definitely, as the Inhib now tanking a lot. Stark now just dashing his way forward, just destroys the Braum. My God, what is that damage? As Pac-Man now with the focus of Dissolution, so much damage now in the backline as well, as he just picks up the double. It's a double also for the Zed as Impaired. He's gonna fall. It's a full house. Lucian's full of Zeds.
And just like that, Trident, with a desperate play, they recognize not having the teleport was going to cost them in the end, so they push mid. They make an aggressive decision, but Avant-Garde capitalize on a team fight. And just like that, 5 members are down for quite a long time.
I actually think that was the best decision that Trident could have made at that point, because if you're, X amount of gold behind to the deficit that they are, if you manage to trade an inhibitor for an inhibitor, that's excellent. Likewise, if you manage to win the fight on a 4v5, if Poppy doesn't pull the trigger to teleport, you could actually win the game if you win that team fight in that instance.
Damn right, and man, Stark doing so much damage. The Nexus just melts to the hands of AV as they take game number 1. New roster, and what looks like a new mindset here, because that was a really high-level game of League of Legends. This is Trident, a team that was sitting at the very bottom of the standings for the beginning, now looking a whole lot better and reformed, and Avant, who just looked like had rosters all over the place. Their support was a mid laner, was an AD carry, didn't know what he was doing, but now that team looks brilliant.
It's pretty hard to say after one game that they look brilliant, but that was a major improvement from what we've seen in the past of AV.
Yeah, but I'm really, really excited. We are going to throw it to the desk, though, for some analysis.
We're excited as well, Atlas. What a game. That was actually a really fun end to what was a pretty close battle throughout. But guys, let's bring it back to the start. I guess I'm going to throw it over to the desk. What do you guys want to talk about? What are you looking at this game?
To me, I think a lot of interesting things happened in that game. The biggest one that's actually started at the beginning was Impaired getting his jungle invaded. That was a sick invade, by the way, as a two-man. Destiny doing in work, take the whole Krug camp away. And I know Impaired's, he's this solo queue player. He does get a bit emotional sometimes. I know he doesn't like it when people get in his jungle and take his stuff. No one would, but I think it would affect him. And Impaired's Parthian being off there definitely cost him a bit of momentum.
Yeah, and just for a recap, guys, they went towards the Krugs at the top side of the map. That is where Impaired started. Stark got the big Krug, and Destiny got the little Krug. So they got nothing. It was a sick leash out of Impaired. Good job. In the end, not much else happened, and the game just kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah, it just went from there. And I really want to talk about the two new players as well coming up for the team. They didn't impress, so to speak. They went okay in the lanes, went toe-to-toe, gave up a couple of kills here and there, but they did their jobs. Zeb was able to assassinate people on the side of Trident, and we saw that Poppy was able to split push very nicely and just did their job of being the front line and the assassin in the team. And they look good. If they can keep this up for Avant, they might be able to look a little bit more consistent.
Yeah, I have to agree that the laners looked fine. I get not impressive, given how, Hype Triple was coming in. It was a fine game for me, but I'm not, amazed with it's like the sick mechanics. What I will say, though, is that the team looks much more controlled and much more calm. It feels like the veterans, Destiny and Shelby, just have way more leverage over these players. And again, I talked about a reset being important. That's what this has seemed to have happened for Avant in the first game, because the pace at which they played to that win was much more measured, much more patient. The ending was maybe not as clean as they would have liked. I think Trident tried the last ditch and couldn't get it done there. And I think they could have tried it a little earlier, and they're already too far behind. But the way Avant played that game, it's not the chaotic, super hyper fast-paced games that they were winning. And it's a step in the right direction. It's only one game, but if they can keep that up, Avant might finally show up to be the team that we thought they were going to be at the start of the season.
And it just looked like Avant had one goal and one strategy in mind. It just executed it nicely. It wasn't all over the park anymore. It just looked like they focused on one thing, executed it nicely, and everything came together for them.
Yeah, they certainly did. The other thing I want to talk about maybe is we said that the bottom lane out of Trident, we expect them to be consistent. Well, one player was very consistent. Edition. Put him in the slips. He has the safest hands in the OPL. That guy caught so many binds. What was going on down there?
Yeah, that was a comprehensive outclassing in the bottom lane there for Avant. We knew how good Destiny was as an AD carry. Now he's back in support. Feels like Stark's finding a bit more synergy with his support player as well. Edition and Jakey, they swapped themselves into the 2v2. I know Edition likes to believe with the Caitlyn, and they just couldn't do anything. They got wrecked.
Yeah, they certainly couldn't. And in the end, that means that they are going to pick up the first victory. AV are 1-0 right now, but don't go anywhere, guys. In 3.5 minutes, we'll have Game 2 of Avantgarde versus Trident coming your way.